I recently asked you guys which English-speaking countries had the highest standards of living, and I received varying opinions. So what I thought I would do is research the top 7 English-speaking countries that IELTS students move to and rank them based on ranking data that I find online. So I'm going to rank these English-speaking countries from worst to best based on money, health, education, and general happiness and well-being. You're going to be quite shocked at the worst country, and you're going to be very shocked at the 2 top countries. So bottom of the list, in 7th place, is the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is ranked 28th in the world for GDP per capita. The UN, with its Human Development Index, ranks the UK number 18 in the world. The Human Development Index focuses not just on economic factors, but also on health and education. It does best in the Legatum Prosperity Index, which not only focuses on health, education, and economics, but also focuses on general happiness. So should you move to the UK? Well, I've got some bad news and I've got some good news. The bad news is that the UK is getting worse. I'm speaking to you right now from the UK, and the UK over the past number of years has gone from crisis to crisis. We've had the Brexit crisis, currency devaluation, the cost of living crisis. There is now an NHS crisis. People can't be seen if they are sick. They have to wait hours and hours for an ambulance. And there is no sign that any of these things are actually getting any better. Now, the good news is the UK is not made up of just one country. It is made up of 4 regions. You can have a very high standard of living in one of these regions compared to one of the huge English cities that you might find yourself in. So if you can get a job in one of the regions of the UK or one of the parts of England that is not as overcrowded and as stretched as, say, London or Birmingham, then you couldn't have a good standard of living. For example, if you are a doctor and you get a job here in the countryside of Northern Ireland, you are going to have an extremely high standard of living. So it's not all bad news, but there are better countries on this list. Coming in at number 6 is Canada. Canada has a GDP per capita rating of 24, Human Development Index score of 15, and an LPI index of 15. So all pretty good scores, but nothing exceptional. On this list, Canada, I would describe this as the most vanilla country. Like vanilla ice cream, it's not bad, but there are more exciting flavors out there. Canada is known for having outstanding natural beauty, nice people, but extremely harsh winters. And a lot of the people watching right now, you're coming from a much warmer climate. A lot of the people that I speak to say that they really suffer during the winters. Many people also just move to Canada because it is the place that will accept them. If that is the case, you don't really have any choice. But if that's not the case, if you have more choice, you might want to consider some of the other countries on this list. Coming in at number 5 is New Zealand. It has a Human Development Index of 13, quite high, but it has a very high ranking for LPI, which is 8. And having been to New Zealand, people are generally very happy there. They have a high standard of living. But the thing that drags them down this list is their GDP per capita, which is the lowest on this list at 31. That gives them a combined score of 52. Now, New Zealand has some of the most stunning scenery and landscapes in the entire world. On the South Island, every corner you drive around is just a gobsmacking view. It is an amazing place to live. However, a lot of people have described it as a little quiet and a little boring, especially compared to its bigger neighbour, Australia. Generally, what I hear from my students is if you are young and single, it can be a little bit boring and it's better to move to Australia. But if you like the quiet life or you have a young family, then New Zealand is a better option. The other good thing about New Zealand is even though it has a lower score for GDP, it has lots of skills shortages. So if you are working in one of those areas, you probably won't need to worry about a low GDP score if you will have a steady job for the rest of your life, you're going to be happy and well looked after in New Zealand. Number 4 is a controversial one, the United States of America. The United States has an extremely high GDP per capita score. It ranks as number 7 in the world. It is the biggest economy, it has the most wealth, it has the highest number of millionaires, and consequently, if your goal is to become highly successful and wealthy or build a successful company, then the USA is probably your best choice. However, it does have a Human Development Index score of 21 and an LPI score of 20. Those aren't low scores, but they're not some of the highest scores on the list either. The main thing to remember about the US is it is a huge country. Each state is like a country in itself. As an IELTS student, the best way that I can help you understand the USA is not to think of it as a country, but think of it as a company. Think of it as an opportunity to go and work there. If you go and work in a company and you are highly driven, highly talented, highly skilled, then you're going to do extremely well in that company. But if you are lazy, not very talented, not very skilled, and you don't have anything to give the United States, then I wouldn't move there because it doesn't have the kind of safety net and the social benefits that a lot of these other countries have. Now we get into the top 3. In 3rd place is Australia. Australia has a GDP per capita ranking of 20, but it has an extremely high score on the Human Development Index. It is number 5 in the world. It also has quite a high score for LPI, giving it a total score of 41. So Australia is pretty high across the board, and that's why it is number 3 on this list of English-speaking countries for IELTS students. And this is no surprise when I've been to Australia and I have a lot of friends and family in Australia. Generally, people there are well off, educated, healthy, and happy. The main thing that keeps people happy, or the people I know that are living in Australia, is the lifestyle. You will hear this over and over again. So in America, people will live to work, whereas in Australia, people will work to live. Compared to the United States, you will get a lot more time off, you will get a lot more holidays, you will be working less, but you'll be pretty well off too. But don't forget, Australia is a huge country. Most of the population centers are close to the beach, close to the water. So if you like that type of thing, you're in luck, but you're not automatically going to be on the beach. So check where you're going before you land. Number 2 isn't a very popular destination for IELTS students, but it does have an extremely high living standard, and it is an English-speaking country. So I thought I would include it on this list, and that is Singapore. Singapore, it has a GDP per capita rating of 2. There are no other English-speaking countries that have such a high GDP per capita. So if money is your main goal, Singapore might be for you. It also has quite a high HDI score of 12 and an LPI score of 14. One of the main reasons why Singapore is so strong economically is they invest a huge amount of money into their education system and into their infrastructure. So if you want a place that just everything runs and everything works properly and your kids are educated, then this might be the one for you. This is also good for people who are wealthy already. It is quite an expensive place to live, and wealthy people generally flock there because of this. And it might also be a good option if you want to live in the heart of Asia. A lot of our students are Asian or are married to Asian people, and they don't want to move way to the other side of the globe, to Canada or UK or the US. They want to be close to family, or they just like living in Asia. If this is you, this might be a good option. The one thing that I would say is do go there, visit there before you decide to commit your life to there, same as every single country on this list, because some people move to Singapore and absolutely love the culture there. Some people move there and hate the culture. And number 1 on the list, I'm very proud of this one because I am Irish. Ireland is number 1 of the English-speaking countries for standard of living. Not my opinion, based on this data. So GDP per capita, number 3 in the entire world. Human Development Index ranking of 8 and an LPI index ranking of 12, giving it a total score of 23, which is the lowest of all the English-speaking countries, giving it the #1 spot. So why is it #1? Well, people move here for the same reason why all of the biggest tech companies in the world have moved to Ireland, because it is an English-speaking country with a highly educated workforce of people who are welcoming and friendly. I might be biased, but everybody who comes to Ireland, the first thing that they say is people are very, very friendly. The bad news is the people are warm, but the weather is not. The only downside of living in Ireland is the weather. The weather is terrible. I know a lot of people who have moved here from warmer, sunnier countries, and they actually get depressed and they have to leave. How the Irish combat that is we have pub culture and alcohol culture here. It is a huge part of Irish society. Again, if you don't like drinking alcohol, you won't feel unwelcome. Nobody will have a problem with you, but you might find it pretty strange that that's people's main hobby. The two groups of people who I would highly recommend Ireland to are young tech people. So if you work in tech, we have all of the biggest tech companies in the world here in Dublin, and young families. As I said before, education is extremely important in Ireland, and it is a very safe country with a great natural environment to grow up in. So there you have it, the top 7 English-speaking countries ranked based on economics, happiness, health, and education. Remember, there is no such thing as a perfect country. Go to the country that you feel most welcome in and that is best for you based on your own personal circumstances. I hope this helps you make the right decision about which country to move to and which country not to move to. But remember, you won't be able to move to any country if you don't have a high IELTS score. That's where IELTS Advantage comes in. That's what we are experts in. So if you need help with your IELTS preparation, feel free to get in touch. If you want help with IELTS, I would suggest this video, which is going to help you with your preparation.